Thanks so much for tuning in to this earnings conversation with Praj Industries. I know a lot of you wait for this conversation to happen, and I'm glad to have Mr. Shishir Joshipura with us. Post the Q2 numbers, revenues were up, a very healthy 49.6% at about 876 crores. EBITDA margins came off a little bit compared to what it was in Q2 FY23, but that may be to be anticipated. In fact, I would want to understand a lot about what the operational metrics could be in quarter 2, quarter 3, and quarter 4. And profit after tax up about a 30-odd%. Great having you, Shishir. Thanks so much for joining in. Can we start off by maybe a couple of minutes, take a couple of minutes and just tell us what was the key takeaway of the quarter for you, and one key aspect for the year and for the quarter, as the case may be.
Thank you, Neeraj. Pleasure to be here as always. So if you look at the quarter, the way I look at it is like this. So 2 or 3 things. One, this was our highest revenue quarter ever. So, and it has come at as a progressively developing over a period of time. So, in a manner of speaking, this is reflective of the tempo of the company, right? What's the speed that we are building up, the momentum that we are building up to both to execute volumes and on all fronts. So it's not that we are executing and the order book is shrinking or anything like that. Order book is also increasing at a pace, so it's adding to it from the starting position. So to me, this quarter was very indicative of that, that we are in a position to anticipate, plan, and deliver on our execution philosophy in a predictable way, if I can use that word. The tempo is very visible. It is our best top-line quarter ever. So from that perspective, I think those are the positives. On the other side, I think still order book is still heavily dependent on, at least in the last quarter, was dependent on what's happening at 1G domestic ethanol, which is still the ABP wins in the sales are still very, very strong. It has given us time to build other places, not yet visible, but as we'll talk forward, I'll share with you how we see the whole export market developing for us, the back of some very new drivers that have emerged. Very clearly, some of our CPAs or other businesses is beginning to move strongly. So engineering businesses are moving strongly, which is also a good sign. So overall, I think good volume delivery, strong performance on proof of the pudding that we can deliver higher volumes. As we move forward, I think we will see also because of the external factors of the reduction in volatility of the commodity prices, we'll start to see some impact on the positive side for the margins. That's all.
Okay, so let's peel the onion one by one. First, in a seasonally weak quarter per se, revenue growth didn't seem to be a challenge. Therefore, does this mean, or is this an indication of what is to come in the second half? I would presume that the second half would be stronger as compared to the first half in general.
Yes, in general, that's a fair observation. Having said that, I think what was also happening because we always compare to the previous years, and there, the seasonality, and I think this is a very important factor, that earlier the markets were only, Indian markets especially, were predicated on sugary feedstock-based ethanol production. And now we also have starchy feedstock that has got added, which doesn't have a season. Okay, and a large amount of order book, at least for the last couple of quarters, has been in favor of starchy feedstocks. So in a manner of speaking, it is evening out of the gaps that we are used to see because of seasonality. So some seasonality has gone out of the window, if I can use that word, in a positive sense, that we are now able to utilize our capacities much more evenly than we have done in the past. Yeah. So that's one fundamental shift because of the way the feedstocks has changed. The seasonality of the feedstock is no longer a factor, at least on the 2/3 of the order book for the last 2 quarters. So that's significant. And that allows me to then use my assets and utilize them very well. One of the things that I was mentioning to somebody, that for virtually no capital investment, we are able to drive this whole volume up from where it was to where it is. And that one is, of course, the efficiency and planning and everything. But what's also more important is this capacity that we used to lose in the initial part of the year, that we're no longer losing. We are able to bridge that gap.
Yeah. Does it therefore tempt you to reduce the capex that you may want to do otherwise, because you are able to utilize parts of the capacity which were never in question, let's say, or not so much in question in a significant part?
So I'm very clear. We will do capex when business is necessary. I mean, no business can shy away from doing the right kind of capex. But if I have to do capex to overcome my inefficiencies, then that's not the right.
Of course.
But if it is to serve an opportunity, by all means, then we will continue to do that.
No, sorry. What I meant to ask was last quarter, you told us that you were preponing the capex by about 12 odd months. Now you're seeing the seasonality factor not go out of the window, but getting reduced a little bit. Therefore, some bit of the idle capacity is getting utilized as well. Would you therefore need to do the same amount of capex that you had envisaged, or does this alter it in any fashion whatsoever?
No. So some change in the characteristics of the capex. So for our bioenergy business, there is one set of logic that is playing out, seasonality and evening out of the load. But for our engineering businesses, that may not hold true. And especially for our modularization business, we clearly see a very increasing demand coming from our customers. And one of the things that I observed in my recent travels to the developed part of the world, there is acute shortage of people like welders, people who can assemble things, who can construct things, acute shortage. They are all saying, can you, as much as you can do on your factory shop floor, I have to do less at site, which is what modularization is all about. So that's going to increase. In fact, all these years that we've been serving those markets, nobody told me that, you know what, we want a 1G distillery supplied on skids, but now they want to. So because they don't have people to do work at site. So stick built is going out of the fashion and more of modularization. So that will call for investment at our end, and we'll do that. Got
it. And this is happening only in the developed markets, or are you seeing this across? This acute shortage.
Developed market, definitely yes. So Europe and United States both. But in some other parts as well, even in some of the developing world, there is a recognition that maybe this is a better way of doing things.
Okay.
Because you are able to now manage it under a controlled environment. The sites are always, quote unquote, less efficient compared to a factory environment.
Okay. So in some sense, the revenue potential per order in a small fashion goes up even further from where it traditionally has been.
That is correct.
Wow. Okay. By the way, can I slip in one more thing here? Last year, the first 9 months, you surpassed the previous year's revenues. From the looks of it, you are on track for surpassing FY22 revenues in the first 9 months as well.
Yes.
So you're making it a habit of doing that is the question.
I don't know the part, but definitely yes. The thing about habit is whatever you remove, a bit always remains. So.
Okay, great. Okay, cool. So we'll try and figure out if this number that did get done in Q3 itself or no. And don't worry, I'm not putting you under undue stress.
I'm happy to answer that. That's now fairly, I mean, it's very visible to anybody.
Very visible, precisely. Yeah. Did the order intake, and again, I mean, 50, 100 crores here and there could always happen, but did the order intake kind of surprise you in some fashion, or is this largely plausible on account of all that's happening in the European region, wherein they might also be trying to reevaluate where do they put the money and in what quarter they deploy the money?
Yes, so it's like this, that if I got a huge fire burning at home, I first need to douse it before I step out and do something else, before I step out and man my garden. So something like that is happening in Europe right now, that they are faced with this challenge of, will I even have the energy available? Forget about utilization or cost of it. Plus, combined with the fact, I mean, just think like this. I've never seen in my life, and for decades together, an inflation level which is in 2 digits. It used to be 2%. Now it is in 2 digits. So very huge difference, right? And I was just joking with someone who's our colleague out there. I said, look, we have lived through these 2 digit inflations for most of our life. So we are getting used to single digit, but you guys have to get used to double digit. We've never seen it before, the first time ever. So some of those things have delayed the decisions a little bit. So that's what I was reviewing. So one thing is all the opportunities are still there, very much present, that were available to us in this quarter, but they all sort of got shifted by a brief period. So we do expect that the second half of the year will see a different level of order book from international business compared to what we've seen this first half, which itself was high, but it's not that it was low, it was very high, but we'll see a very different speed as
well. Okay. So sorry, I haven't looked at that aspect, but did the export import or the domestic versus global order book shift materially in Q2 as a percentage of orders received?
Yes, only for Q2 it was in favor of domestic.
Okay, fair call. Now, give us a sense of the export piece that you were talking about, right? Because I mean, aside of all that you have been doing, I think on the 2G bioethanol plant as well, while you've done on the domestic side, and I'll come to that, but I think you've been on record saying that we could actually see 40 to 50 large-size 2G ethanol plants expected to come up in Europe. And I have heard you rightly say right now in this interview that Europe would be re-strategizing, rethinking what are the priorities, etc. So give us a sense of what's happening there, and also give us a sense of what you said in the opening answer, which is newer avenues to export opportunities. Give us a sense of that.
So good news on the European opportunity is that whatever they digitalize, this is still going to be a centerpiece. These 40, 50 plants. That's not shifting away. So maybe on timeline, a couple of quarters here or there, but nothing more. So that's the good news over there, because energy security has become a very important dimension of all the dialogues. So far, this was never the mind map. I don't really care about energy security. I've got a pipeline and my energy is running. But now somebody's turned the valve off. Right. So energy security is becoming an important dimension. And also we all know that biofuels by their very nature are local in production. So from that perspective, I think it's very positive, value accretive kind of an activity or a situation for them. One doesn't wish a war anywhere, but I'm just saying that that's the reality, right? So that's first part. The second is, if you look at 2G in many ways, so there is a technology that I have developed and I take it to the market and tell the market, hey, this is a better way of doing things, do it like this, etc., etc. And that takes its own efforts to develop that market potential. The second one is where market wants something because they realize that they need those solutions in a whole lock, stock, and barrel manner. Right? They need those solutions. And at that time, if you're able to bring in your knowledge and provide a solution, then that can get converted to a result very, very fast. So first category is Europe, where we took a technology. Now the ecosystem, etc., is developing, and we'll go forward with that. But the low carbon ethanol opportunity that we see emerging out of United States could actually be in the second category, where the market is realizing that. So at the back of IRA, which was recently launched by President Biden, there's a big provision for shifting to biofuels. And there's a big push, not shift, but there's a big push for biofuels. And especially in the space of sustainable aviation fuel, they've declared a target of 3 billion gallons by 2030. Right now, it's only about 400 million gallons. So there is no connection between what it is now to what they want. So it's a huge travel to be undertaken. And so all those actions will actually lead to a situation where the market will start. Because where does low carbon ethanol come from? Existing plants have to convert their plants to low carbon ethanol. And that's where Praj has lots of offerings to give. We have on certain technologies, we are in an exclusive position to provide those solutions. So it is, as it start to develop, and maybe in the next quarter when we meet, I'll have more to talk about it. But these are just the initial signs I just got back from US. But it is very clearly visible to me that this is what will happen. So decarbonizing of energy chain is absolutely a go now. I don't see an argument against this anywhere. It may come in different forms in different countries. Some will say I want gas, some will say I want ethanol, some will say biodiesel, some will say aviation fuel. That's a separate issue. But in general, decarbonizing of fuels is an absolutely arrived thing, and I agree.
Well, it almost seems that that there may be a case that because of the war, there might be delayed gratification on this, but there will be much larger gratification and much larger demand for the kind of products that you or some of the others might be doing because they would want to move ahead on energy security even more swiftly once this issue is out of the way.
Exactly, you said it, and that's so maybe because of the vacation plus the prolonged nature of the war, and everybody thought that nobody will turn the valve off, and now that happened and all that stuff. So I think the actions have played themselves out, but what it is, as you rightly said, what it has only done is reinforced this whole energy security questions in the mind of people, and therefore we are expecting a much more swifter action.
You hearing that in client conversations already, Mr. Joshipura? You are.
Yes.
Okay. What about the Indian part out here on 2G? Because I think the Prime Minister unveiled the first of the plants, if I'm not wrong, in September, if I'm not wrong again.
Yes, that is correct. That is correct. The Prime Minister unveiled the first plant on 10th of August.
August, okay.
What biofuel? Yes, correct. On the World Biofuel Day. What is it? What's the significance of this plant? And I think that's the important thing. It is not only another plant being inaugurated for ethanol. It's much bigger than it's not big issue for the state. It's not a big issue for the technology provider. It's a global issue because the globe is watching what happens to this plant. Okay, I've conversed with several leading players in United States, in Europe. They are all saying, we always believe that if one company could do it, it will be you guys. We just wish that you succeed and show us that there's juice.
Okay. It's a prototype of sorts, you say.
Yeah, so they are all watching what happens. And I expect that once we commission and we can showcase it to God in about 2 quarters' time, I'm sure that we will be able to drive a change. For multiple reasons. This double burning is a problem everywhere. It's not only located in India. It is everywhere.
Okay.
And in the United States, so much so that farmers have started not to plant rice as a crop because they are not allowed by the state law to. What do you do if you don't have a solution? What do you?
Of course.
Now there is a solution. Right? Now there is a solution. So this gives a solution to a problem. This provides income to farming community, which every government in the world wants. Doesn't matter if it's a developed country or a developing country. Right? It addresses the environmental problem because you cut GHG emission by almost 85% compared to the fossil fuels. Yeah, it generates local economy. It is value accretive on all fronts. So we will see a very different dynamic play out as this, let's say, not more than a year from now.
Okay, so you're saying the proof of concept comes out in about 6 months' time or 1 year time?
Yeah, 6 months' time, and I'm giving another 6 months for the process to go. So we'll start to see significant changes, I understand.
Wow. Okay. So if this proves to be a bit of a prototype for you, I'm just trying to understand how different would the revenue profitability mechanics be for a 2G plant, the one that you unveiled, compared to a traditional average sized order that you would get for execution that you've done thus far?
So as I probably put like this is the first commercial demonstration of this technology. So in a manner of speaking, for the world, it is a prototype. You understand what I'm saying? Not for us, not for the technology, but for the world, saying, oh, this is a way of doing things right. So it's a clear commercial demonstration of it, because we are demonstrating at commercial scale this technology. This is very important, right? Two, in terms of its, so if you look at America as a market, they have a different set of mechanisms at play because they value carbon, they pay for carbon, and so on. If you go to Europe, it is more regulation driven. That it's mandated, you have to blend, and you can only blend 2G ethanol and nothing else. So in India, we're still not very clear about it because I think everybody's waiting to see what happens and what the actual costs are and things like that. So I'm sure that different levers and different drivers. There is a growing demand on the other side also. We went in dialogue with some of the big names in the world about their need for 2G ethanol for their processes, because they also want to source and decarbonize their products. And where ethanol is an input, then those products they will need low carbon ethanol. Right? So there are different levers that are opening out. I'm sure that we will talk more and more about it as we go forward.
Well, this is tremendous, and I hope that it brings you great success. It's also a matter of pride that an Indian company is doing that on the world stage. So all the best for that.
Absolutely, Neeraj. And I want to share with you because a lot of people will watch your channel. I was in a very high level, ministerial level conference in United States 2 weeks ago. And it was an absolute moment of pride for me when a US, very high ranking US official in his opening speech, without any provocation, said, there are two companies in this room. One of them was us. He named us. He said, Praj, that we should look forward to play an increasingly important role in decarbonizing. So that tells you how much of recognition we have received through the work of our team over the years, through the vision and mission of the founder, Dr. Chaudhary. I think this is something that was a really moment of being very, very proud about the fact that, well, we are not a multi-billion-dollar company, right?
Sure.
Mentioned as the first name company to be say, look at that, and they are the guys to follow. So I think that was, I just thought that maybe because you have wide followership, so more people should know about it.
Independent of that, I mean, it's just great for me to know this personally as well, and congratulations on that. Last couple of questions. I know I overshot my time, Mr. Joshipura, but just a couple of questions, if you will. One is on the margins, because there's probably a bit of a disappointment. Now, is this because you were using high price inventory, and therefore does this course correct itself in Q3, and by how much? Give us some sense.
So we have, I think Sachin did mention that we can see clearly 1 percentage point impact in this quarter because of that carried forward cost of inventory, so which will change as we move forward.
Okay, does it change immediately Q3 onwards? You reckon?
It will change. I mean, there's always this mixed issue. Some project gets delayed, some gets advanced. So we'll have to see that. But this is not a pain that's going to last forever. This is a pain that will not more than 2 quarters.
Okay, so fair call. So you reckon at least at some point of time, Q4 onwards, at least normalcy would return on the operational front. Then it will be pure normalcy.
H2 will be different than H1 for sure. How much different we'll see.
Fair call. One final question, Shishir, and that is what I always end your interactions with. One great development that happened. Now, you already told me about one that has happened, but aside of that, if there's something that happened that made you feel that this was a wow moment in the quarter?
I think this whole announcement of the SAF program in the United States at the back of low carbon ethanol it's a big thing to happen, because it will completely open the whole aviation sector dimension on SAF production. Today, there is no production of SAF, hardly any in the world, but this will actually drive big way as we move forward, and things will become clear in about 6 months' time. But it will definitely start opening pathways. And I think that's a very significant moment, because there ethanol can become a feedstock. Okay, sorry, if you have 30 more seconds, can you just explain this for us? So what happens is, if you really look at ethanol's entire play right now, it is on the surface transport, right? Mixing in the gasoline. But what are the next pathways? So next pathways is aviation fuel, which is much bigger market.
Sure.
So that gives you 30-year kind of a runway visibility. So that's why I'm saying it's a big event. Okay. Well, all the best for that as well. So lots to talk about over the course of the next 12 to 18 months. Shishir, look forward to all of that. And thanks so much for your time today. Thank you. It's lovely speaking with you as always. Yeah, likewise, the feeling is mutual. Viewers, thanks for tuning into this interaction with the management of Praj Industries.